Hi, everyone. Lately, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been having a lot of conversations with people about saying no. It's a common conversation that's been coming up as a lot of people have been really relying on being able to use COVID restrictions as an excuse to not have to do things. And as people keep talking about COVID restrictions lifting and potentially vaccines and all of that kind of stuff, people are starting to feel stress about how they're going to continue to hold the boundaries that they've managed to kind of set during COVID. And so I thought, I've had this conversation with a bunch of different people. A number of my clients have had conversations about this or wanted to talk about this. And I thought, hey, why not jump on here and sort of share some of the things that have come out of some of those conversations. So I think the first thing that I talk to people about when they're struggling with this topic is, what is it that you want to say yes to and what is it you want to say no to, and getting really clear for yourself about what those things are. I was having a conversation with somebody last week sometime about how they're really clear that there's some people that they want to say yes to more than others, and that even though it's not that they don't want to have those people in their lives or they never want to see those other people, it's that it's figuring out, how do I find the balance, being able to say yes and being able to say no without hurting people's feelings and so on. So I think first you want to really get clear about what is it I want to say yes to and what is it I want to say no to. And then I still have trouble with this myself sometimes. And so what I will do is think about how would I respond if somebody told me what their truth was? So if I had plans with somebody and they said their truth was like, I actually really don't want to do that, or I'm not feeling good about doing that, or I'm interested in doing something else, how would I respond to that? And I think, depending on how the person said it, I think I would be okay with it. I wouldn't take it personally. And if I was taking it personally, I could certainly ask, is it something that I did? And I think the strong relationships that I have would totally be able to hold those kinds of conversations without much of an issue. And I think, especially when it comes to time and doing things with people and not doing things with other people, there's definitely something I saw the other day about there's a difference between availability and whether you're actually your free time. There's difference between having, just because I have time doesn't mean I'm actually available to go and do things. And so I think it's also giving yourself permission to have that be true too, and get that those strong relationships that you have should be able to hold those conversations. There should be room for you to bring your whole truth to a conversation, and including I don't want to, or I changed my mind, which is totally cool. Because I would way rather, thanks Megan for that, I would way rather have somebody tell me their truth about they're not wanting to do something than come and hang out or do the thing without really wanting to be there and do it. So I thought that was an important piece to remember too, is that those strong relationships should be able to hold that. And if there's relationships that you have that you don't feel like you would be able to hold those conversations in without a whole lot of repercussion, those relationships probably need to get addressed. There's probably something going on in those relationships that's needing some attention, and probably some conversations that can either make them so that they have room for that, or you maybe get to really evaluate whether or not those relationships are serving you. And I think the final thing that I would just say about looking at this, how do I make decisions about saying yes and saying no? How do I actually go about saying the yes and the no to people? There's remembering too that when you're saying yes to other people, I'm sure you've seen this 1,000 times too, when you're saying yes to other people and saying no to yourself, that actually does a whole lot of internal stuff. It creates internal stress. It creates frustration for yourself. It also helps to eliminate or erode any self-trust that you have when you're constantly putting your own things, your own needs, your own desires second to other people. And that creates its own type of stress response, which over time can create its own type of trauma. And so I think it's really important to get clear on that part. So COVID or no COVID, saying yes to the things that you want to and saying no to the things that you want to is really important. Getting that those relationships that like real, honest, authentic relationships should be able to hold conversations like that. It might require a little bit of extra courage on your part to step into that vulnerability and say how you're really feeling. It can really feel like you're risking the relationship when you take that deep breath and say, actually, that's not for me. And that's totally okay. You're allowed to do that. And allowed to feel that way. I sometimes will actually tell people, this feels like a really awkward and uncomfortable conversation, but I have to say this. And that's okay too. You're allowed to do that. The people who love you, the people who care about you and how you feel, are gonna be okay with it. And I've certainly been making more and more of an effort over the last, especially over the last year. I've really seen how I haven't like I'll see the places where I don't have those relationships with people and have started stepping into saying the things that I need to say. And man, does it ever make a difference in the relationships when I actually do it. The level of connection and authenticity that's there is so much more powerful, and the relationships feel more meaningful and they feel even safer to be in. So I highly recommend taking the risk, feeling the fear, doing it anyway. Having your throat feel dry and scratchy and your voice, your knees kind of shaking, your hands kind of shaking, and say it anyway. The difference in the relationships in the long run is typically the thing that we're all looking for anyway, that really deep longing, deep connection, belonging and connection, not longing. Well, you might have longing, but the deep feeling of need for belonging and connection with other people, it actually only comes through authentic sharing, authentic connection, and being you. And if you're lying about what you're okay with and what you're not okay with, like, that's not authentic. So it impacts your relationships. Anyway, I thought it would be helpful to jump on and say something about this. If you have any more questions about this, feel free to leave some comments, or you can certainly shoot me a DM and I would be happy to address those for you. We can totally do that privately too. It doesn't have to be in a public forum. So anyway, hope you're having a great day.